What's up, New York, specifically the United 43rd, which is the 43rd New York State Assembly District. This is your elected district leader, Anthony Beckford. Right now we're at Lips Cafe, which is a community hub within the 43rd. Glad to know the owners, glad to be part of this community for the long run since I was a youth, but also glad to represent you. Being a district leader, a role that's not known to many when it comes to civic engagement and the knowledge of politics. As I've had to learn it, as others have had to learn it, we are what you call the vanguards of your democracy, right? We are the party, specifically the Democratic Party, since I'm your Democratic district leader here in the 43rd. There's district leaders throughout every single assembly district in Brooklyn. And our roles is to help elevate judges. We vote on the party chair, who at the time is Rodney's Bashar Hermelin. We also, appoint people onto, poll workers sites. We help the youth to engage also to become poll workers as well too, and so many other things. We help, community members to be elected as county committee members, to be elected as judicial delegates. This is the foundation of democracy. This is the foundation of civic engagement, but also this is the foundation of your community itself in politics. So this shows right here that everything that we do involves politics. As much as many say, I do not want to get involved, everything that we do is something political. Whether it's the price of the food that you eat, whether it's the business that's in your community, and the way that it consistently stays standing, your public transportation, everything, your rent, everything is politics at the end of the day. But protecting your democracy, is something that is very, very important, especially in this day and age now, with who we're dealing with on a national level. Protecting it on the local level, especially the hyper-local level, is very important. We call ourselves the elected volunteers, right? Because being a district leader, we are the only elected officials who are unpaid, unfunded. But this shows our commitment to the furthest degree, of community activism and advocacy. I've been known throughout the advocacy and activism movement for years. I started at the age of 12, and then during the BLM movement, I was a key figure and a key, voice, throughout Brooklyn. And help make a lot of changes happen, especially with a lot of the laws locally, and even push for a lot of things, nationally to change, for the benefit of our community and our people. But then being in this role here, the title allows you more platforms, but then also you can help in this title to actually elevate judges who understand what it is, to be from a community, that has a need for representation, but also to be able to make sure that, the polls are dealt with integrity by having poll workers from within your community that can actually do the job, right? And then also making sure that when it comes to county committee members and judicial delegates, these are folks that want to be a part of democracy, who said, what's next? What more can I do? And being there to represent them, but also bring them in to represent their electoral districts means so much, because they help in those decision-making process when it comes to the rules of the party, when it comes to the elevation, of the judges as well too, from anywhere from civil court to Supreme Court, because we do need to make sure that we highlight these things even more. And being able to do that in this capacity, means so much, because it means that, my services community will continue, in this role, but also continue to elevate those who want to get to the point where they can say, you know what, I did everything I could do, and I'm willing to do more as well. Well, as a district leader, the role is what you make it. So I still continue with my advocacy when it comes to truly affordable housing, not just affordable housing, but truly affordable housing. When it comes to, safe, but also affordable transit, fighting for that as much as possible, aligning myself with my fellow electeds, in the state and in the city, to fight for these things, protecting our small businesses, going out there and making sure that we have the sanitation services, that our community has been demanding, and that they're adequate educational funding and so forth. But also, like I said, to make sure that the judges that we elevate are those who are truly qualified for that role. Because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that when our community members throughout the whole of Brooklyn, when they go to court, they actually have somebody who has integrity, but also has common sense and good reasoning skills, right? And then when it comes to, doing more for the community, I have been able to bring a lot of my initiatives, from the Bubble and Icy Day, which became an official day throughout New York State, through Governor Kathy Hochul, which was passed through as a resolution through Assemblymember Brian Cunningham, who's an Assembly member of the 43rd Assembly District. This is a day to celebrate the youth, but also to bring youth and seniors together within our community as well too, right? And then we just had Brooklyn's Black Santa, which is a representation of the community itself, but also to bring more resources and joy to the community directly instead of sending them to the resources. And many other initiatives, that we take upon ourselves, from cleaning the district, from doing, voter drives, to bring people together, have events where everybody can have fun, but also become more involved in community, especially our youth, and guiding them the right way as we should, as being mentors, but except in the elected official capacity, and showing them that there is a pathway. There's not just go to school, get a job, and that's it. No, there's other pathways they can take as well too, that can help them to help others as well. In regard to affordability, right? So as much as we do not do legislation in our role, I do dabble in legislation as a district leader. Like I said, the role is what you make it. And I love writing legislation. I've wrote many key pieces of legislation throughout the years, especially resolutions as well too. Especially when it comes to affordability. Trying to make sure that we are able to have more co-ops, that are owned by tenants, right? Fighting against bad corporate landlords, making sure also that small landlords are able to be protected as well too. Making sure that we bring affordability back to the city, because as much as we're the greatest city, we want to make sure that the people in this great city are continuing to live here, especially within our communities. But also, being using this title to be a key voice when it comes to the fight against deed theft. Many of the businesses and homes within our district have been victims of deed theft. So to make sure that we fight against that to the fullest capacity. So, teaming up with organizations within our community and teaming up with legislators who are passing key legislation to make sure that we protect our homeowners, protect our small business owners. I am glad to continue doing that, and I'm glad, that I was able to do that within the capacity so far since I've been elected. I look forward to doing more of that, but also I'm currently drafting what is called my Affordability Plan 2026, right? This right here will go hand in hand with all the affordability legislation that has been passed already, but also with the vision that Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has as well too, which he will become, by the time you listen to this, he more likely will become the mayor. But I've known him since 2018. We were both part of the same club, the same organizations. During COVID, we both were out there, while there were no resources for the communities, our community teamed up with the Pakistani community and the Pakistani organizations like PAYS, and my brothers Hassan, and also Kashif and Muhammad Bahi, and we provided over 800,000 halal meals, free halal meals to the community. That is key. When everybody else ran and left us, we stayed in our communities and we fought for our communities and provided for our communities. In regards to precinct commander, we don't have a selection process of precinct commander. That's all through PD. But when it comes to NYPD, there does need to be more representation for our communities, those who understand and come from our communities as well too. Especially, we cover the 6-7, the 7-1, the 7-7, and the 7-0. The 6-7 before had representation, and that was changed up, and he was a very good precinct commander that literally called upon us every single time that there was an issue to see what we could do, not only as electeds, but also as community advocates and activists, to help with gun violence, to help with accountability, and then they removed him and replaced him with somebody else who I really did not have to have the opportunity to have a good relationship or even a conversation with. But I do look forward to meeting again with the new precinct commander at the 6-7. I met him recently at PS 98, which is in the next district, which is in 8058, at a toy give back there, and also for the relief efforts that we're doing also for Jamaica as well. He seemed like he was very down to earth, and he had a listening ear. You could tell when somebody has the intent to listen, which is good because listening is the first thing you do before you actually move forward with progress. And that's what we look always forward to is progress within our communities. So in regards to businesses in the 43rd, even before I was elected, before, many of the electeds now, in the state and the city were elected, there's always been this effort to keep our businesses, right? Many times you have these bad corporate landlords that will raise the rent and push businesses out of our community. And these are black and brown businesses, right? So I'm happy that I've been able to support a lot of these black and brown businesses. I've actually been able to call on some of my colleagues in the legislative branch to actually pass legislation to help some of them, get the permits that are needed, to get the titles that they need, but also to help them with some of the circumstances and situations that they can within their capacity, right? But also just to be there and be a voice for them is very big with what we do. Because even, matter of fact, down the block from here, for many of those who don't remember from years ago, where there was a nail salon where 3 black women were viciously attacked, when myself and others led the charge to basically hold accountability, but also shut that business down because that business had a practice of racism against our community, but yet they were making money hand over foot in our community. And glad to say that one of the demands we had was this business be shut down and replaced with a black business and representation, and also, keep the money within our communities. And now there is a black business there. The money is kept within the communities as well too. But then also, when we service or we ask for services, it has to be an exchange of cordiality, right? But it also has to be human decency. And a lot of times you don't have that, when it comes to people who just come and siphon, from out of our communities. But so having community members from our communities being able to open up businesses is a big empowerment. That means that they are invested even more, but also they will stay here even longer. And generational wealth is a big thing that we seek to basically recruit back into our communities as well too. Instead of the dollar only rotating 1.5 times out of our communities, we want to make sure that dollar is able to basically rotate over 200 times within our communities before it leaves out. That is the goal, and if you look at how things were in the past when we had the Black Wall Streets, that's what we're looking forward to. And then with my district, I represent Flatbush, Prophet Lefferts Gardens, Crown Heights, and parts of East Flatbush. And to see the community working together, in a matter of race, creed, religious background means something. This is a thriving, multicultural, diverse district, and to see that how everybody's working together to empower each other means so much. Whether they're coming over from Ocean Avenue or Flatbush all the way to Utica or to Church Avenue to Bergen means a direct impact in everything that happens here. I'm happy that I'm bringing about the Affordability 2026 plan, which has been, it was a different plan before, which is called a Truly Affordable Act. And so many of those were passed through legislation, through legislators throughout the city and state. So I was happy to support that move. But the affordability plan for 2026, is to dig deeper into the bones, into the roots, of the affordability issue, right? So, like I said, you have bad acting landlords within many of our districts, especially within the 43rd. You have, companies and LLCs who come and steal the property of many of our seniors and many of our long-term homeowners and homeowners who've been here since they were children, and they, basically inherited the home from their families, But we're also looking to bring back, affordability when it comes to food in our district. We have a food desert here, that we're looking to bring more resources to, so that way people don't have to choose between paying their fare, paying their rent, or putting food on the table. But we're also looking to support, many of the plans to not only provide free bus services within New York City, but also try to see if we can, provide a fare rollback, because the fares are about to rise again to $3. Rise to $3, and those who cannot afford $3 are given tickets for $150 to $250. Where does that make sense? If you can afford it $3, how do they expect you to afford, this larger amount? It's because they don't expect you to afford it, but it's a way to further criminalize the community. So in doing so with the Affordability 2026 plan, we're able to bring back affordability to our community, but also fight back against these egregious acts, against us. And I call these acts of violence. They're financial acts of violence against our community, which we will not stand for, which I will not stand for. And as your district leader, I'll continue fighting against it and fighting for accountability. Elected a new mayor, Mayor Zoran Mamdani. I've known Zoran since Mayor Zoran now, make it official, since 2018. We were both part of the same organizations. I was one of the first basic non-Muslims that was a part of the Muslim Democratic Club, of New York and stuff like that. I've associated myself, with close ties, with the Pakistani community and all that our communities represent, the similarities, the hardships, the issues, but also, the achievements. It was done possible through, my brother, Kashif, who basically, him and I built a bridge, from Flatbush to, the Coney Island, Pakistani area, across Newkirk, right? And that was when PAYS was in existence, which was the Pakistani American Youth Society. And there were so many others who were key to this as well too. Like, Hassan, and Zanera, Muhammad Bahi, and so many others, who I pay tribute to because they were, they were and they are family. And then when it came to Zoran, like, I always thought of Zoran as a brother. So when we found out that he was running, for assembly, in 2020, I was excited, we was out there, many people saw the photos that we had, when I'm a BLM mask and he had his mask out there while we were still out there putting in the work for the people, so when he announced that he was going to run for mayor, I quickly let the people know that I was going to endorse him, right? Not only just as being the Democratic candidate, but also for the fact that I know where his heart is. I know what his mission is in regards to the people. When you have true advocates and activists who have always been there for the people, when we get into politics, when we become elected, that mission is still there. That is core, that is priority, and I look forward to continue working with him, through his, tenure as a mayor, 1 term, 2 terms, and on, through other endeavors that he do because of the passion that he has and that we share for the people. To make sure that, the youth are taken care of, to make sure education is adequately funded, to make sure that organizations are being given the pay on time so they can do more for the communities, making sure that resources and services are there adequately, but also, accessible for our community, but also making sure that affordability is key. Again, we cannot always say that this is the best city in America or even in the world if we don't keep the people who have kept the city so great, that have kept the city moving, who have helped build the city here, and that is everybody. The divisiveness on a national level, is one thing to combat against, but to bring the unity on a local level, we'll always have that unified approach in everything that we do. And that's what, I love about what's coming in with this new administration and what aligns with so many of us and why Zoran and I have aligned so much in so many things, because of the fact that at the end of the day, we are a community. Doesn't matter, how we were raised, where we come from. Community is key in that unified approach, which is why, we dubbed, the name United 43rd, to emphasize that and to show the people what we need to do to move forward, remind them what we need to do to move forward, but also remind those who come to try to divide us that we will not stand for that we will not sit there and be quiet as division and hate is spread. We're here to spread unity, progress, but also development for our communities. We're at Lips Cafe, located at 1412 Northern Avenue. Lips Cafe is a community hub. This is where everybody comes to. Doesn't matter if you're an influencer, if you work a 9 to 5, you're an elected official, you're an advocate, if you're a mother, a father, a grandparent, this is community here, and for, Donna and Jermaine, who are the co-owners of this space, who I call family, so that, for them to provide this space for the community, whether you're, celebrating yourself or somebody else or just, an occasion, or just coming here just to study or to even do business, you know, it means so much because we don't have so many spaces like this within New York City, you know. And you ask anybody, have you been to Lips Cafe? And they'll tell you they've been there. They tell you they've seen it. They tell you that they passed through. They tell you that they've had a panini or a rasta pasta, you know. But one thing that's always the messaging is the fact of they can tell you it's community, you know. And businesses like this are very key to community. One of the things I love about, just being who I am and as an advocate and activist, but also being able to be in this role as the district leader for the 43rd, I'm able to work along with other districts as well too, right? I don't let, district lines, blur anything when it comes to community. I was able to team up, with Assembly Member Monique Chandler Waterman, from the 58th Assembly District, and we teamed up, with Busta Rhymes, Split Star, and also, a reggae superstar, dancehall legend, Busy Signal, do the relief efforts, for Jamaica, because many know, Jamaica was hit hard, Hurricane Melissa, my family's Jamaican, and we were in the hardest hit areas, right? In Black River, St. Elizabeth, and just to see that everybody was coming together, especially those who have a name, have influence to come together and say, hey, I'm gonna be with the community and show that I could be just like you. Title, money, stature doesn't mean anything. I am just like you meant so much. We got to chop it up. Titles were out the door. We're just us as human beings. So again, United 43rd, this is the 43rd New York State Assembly District. This is your district leader, your male district leader, your male state committee member on a Democratic ticket, Anthony Beckford. I am going for re-election June 23rd, Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026, in the Democratic primary. I'm counting on you as you counted on me for the support, and we will continue moving together as one. So if you want to get in contact with me, your district leader, make sure that you go on the website, anthonybeckford.com. You can even send me an email at info@anthonybeckford.com, or just walk it up and down any of our corridors. You'll see me there, because I'm always here with y'all. I want to say what's up to What's Up TV and to my boy Sean, who's been throughout New York, doing the people's work. Covering all the events, but also making sure that you are educated and up to date on everything that is happening, within our community and stuff like that. Also, what's up to Lips Cafe, what's up to my boy Zoran Mamdani, what's up to all of our fellow district leaders in the Brooklyn Democratic Party, but also what's up to the 43rd. We have some superb, supreme, super people out here in the 43rd. We are so hyped, we are so dope, whether it's from 7-7, with Miles, and awesome Brooklyn, whether it's, being at Lips Cafe or, or Blue Nook or any other space out here, man. Like, I feel so good to be at home in the 43rd and to keep on being a representative of the 43rd. So I'll see y'all out there.